Hey everyone, it's Book of Katherine. Welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be talking not about liberals, but actually I'm going to talk to liberals. So it's kind of funny because the majority of my friends are actually liberals. At least my insider friends are liberals, and that's kind of majority of my friends at the moment are liberals. And it's funny that I noticed that my Twitter feed has been talking about conservatives lately. Like the links have had what the leftists would call conservative links or whatever, and things like that. And so I realized that I better like actually talk, since I have been saying left versus liberal and all these sorts of things. And I was like, you know what? I want to do a video where, because I know it's confusing, and like I have this really great understanding, like I've done this whole journey with my friends, but I haven't done it with you guys. And so I want to do it with you guys because I feel like, honestly, like you guys, my liberal followers, well, part of it is we've grown so much, so you guys haven't seen me come from like this independent thing, and a lot of you guys are just joining me now, and you're like, well, she's got all these conservative links, and I have not before. I didn't have that before, and it's a new foray for me, and it's like this whole new world for me. It's been a shock. And so anyway, majority of links that are on my channel I had way before, and the conservative is a new thing that I'm trying, and it's really painful actually to actually go into that side. But I'm really glad I'm doing it. Like, I'm really glad I'm doing it. But it's time to, like, one of the things that I learned there is that there is, well, one person said it. They said that there's a difference between liberals and leftists. And I was just like, clicked for me immediately. And I was like, gosh, we got to use that terminology more often. Because I suddenly realized, like, gosh, all my friends are liberals. And they don't think at all like the mainstream media does, and like the whole entire like propaganda machine. That's not the way they're talking. That's not the agenda that they're pushing, and they certainly aren't cutting people off, and they certainly don't want people thrown in jail for the things that they say. They're just as shocked at some of the videos that I bring out as you are. And they want women to have education. They want them to grow up and be young girls. They don't want child marriage, which are things that the leftists are pushing, is child marriage and lowering the age of consent and things like that. And so it's one of those things that I realized that maybe we should talk about here and just talk about that. So let's talk about it, because I kind of almost hurt for liberals just right now, because conservatives, at least, you know, well, I hurt most for independents and moderates, because they are the largest. They're just this huge part of America. Like, they don't talk about it. Like, they don't even acknowledge, no one acknowledges anymore that there is 40% of America. 40% of America is in the middle, because they don't fit into one party. They don't have a foot in any one party. No, whose issues ever match up like into one party? It's an awful thing. Sometimes you do. And so it's like 20%, like maybe over here, and 20% just happen to be with these little party lines that are there. But the party lines are not like that anymore. And that's what I really want to talk. And when I say liberals, I mean the people that are like 30 and above, like those, the lost liberals or whatever, the people who understand my feed and get what I'm saying. When I say, like, who are shocked by what's going on at college campuses, but just don't know because it's not actually being covered in the media. For example, I was just watching a clip on The View today where they actually literally said, you know, we condemn the violence at Berkeley, but we have no idea who's done it. Like, we don't know who those thugs were. We just don't know who those thugs were. And if you read my Twitter feed, there is a time where I think it was this year, where I was like, did you know that we do know who? Like, they went out and declared it with pride. Like, they went to whatever news station was there, and like, it was known, and they said it, and like, who did it? Like, Fox News put them on, and then Fox News didn't say everything that they did, but they were proud of it. And the leader of it was, I can't remember her name, but it was the leader of BAMN, By Any Means Necessary, which let's remember that is exactly the wording used in the Third International World Communism of Lenin, in the early 1900s in Russia. So, and they have the same flag, the exact same flag as Antifa. And so she's a leader of Antifa, and she is a high school teacher. Great. So, and the thing is that, these Soros foundations have actually gone in and funded so that they have actually stacked our schools. They've stacked our high schools. They've stacked our colleges. And that's why we don't own our kids anymore. Like they're gone. Like our kids are just they sound like the same voice, and it's on purpose because they own the textbooks. Like it was just a coordinated thing. And so, but they keep that from those of us who are 30 and above. They have done a really good job of just keeping that from us. And so I know my liberal friends, like they're in the media, or they're in Wall Street, or they're in Europe, and just they're in publishing or the arts, and they're shocked by what they're seeing because it's being kept from them. And so when they find out about it, when they find out about what, like that extreme, all the things that are being labeled as, oh, this is extreme terrorism, this is extreme Islam, this is extreme. No, this is actually what just Islam is. Islam wants to actually infringe its religion. Like there is a thing, like the religion of Islam actually teaches world domination. Like that is its actual teaching, is world domination, overthrowing societies, which is why you'll always hear them say, do not assimilate with American society. When you come here, don't assimilate, and just try to bring people in and assimilate them to your culture. But their culture is like marrying their daughters off as children. And this is like, for me, the total thing, like this is Islam. This is not extremism. This is what Islam teaches. I think this is and I learned this not from anything here. It wasn't anything conservative. I learned this from a BBC, when that BBC was really doing real journalism. If you found it in my research, just the BBC, it was a panorama thing, and it was doing it on how many honor killings were happening in Britain because of they have such a large Islamic community of all different, of India and of Middle Eastern countries. Just a whole variety of ethnicities practice Islam. And in Islam, there was a guy who summarized it so perfectly, and I never forgot it. They said, Islam teaches that man is like gold. If you dip it in crap, you can wash it off and it's clean. But woman is like fine silk. If you dip it in crap, she can never be clean again. And I was just like, what woman is perfect and can't mess up? Like that is just a setup. And then all these horrible things. She can be beaten, she can be raped, she can do all these things. Like a woman's testimony is only 50% as good as a man's testimony. And I mean, that's why women are disappearing. And in the UK, these girls are just disappearing, like 4,000 a year in the middle of the school year, to be sent back to the other countries to be married off as child brides against their will. They never go back to school. They come back, and it gets them all passports. They get it just so that they can get a passport. And the guy comes back, and now he's a citizen to spread like Islam. And now that's why we see Sharia patrols. And everyone says like Sharia patrols, and that's not extreme Islam. Like that's not extreme terrorism. That's just Islam. And that liberals, the reason I'm saying that to you is like, that's not a conservative view. That's Bill Maher. Like Bill Maher's saying it. And now he's been saying it for a very long time, but now it's not fitting the narrative, because now it's suddenly, there's suddenly become the tighter and tighter narrative, right? So I feel bad for, my cat, I think he got caught. Hold on. Lila, she snuck into the closet for the food. She snuck into the food closet, and I checked that closet before I closed it. So I just feel, so let me just break it down what I mean by left and left liberal, so that you can understand. I think it'll set you free a bit about what's going on, and also set you free to go ahead and research a bit and know what's really happening here, because your own party's gonna, is actually selling you out. That's what's really terrible. And it's not that your party's doing it. It's just the one that's funny. It's unfortunately the Democratic National Committee has just, it's easy to take funding, but they've taken all their funding from like one guy. And when you do that, you know, that one guy is funding a ton of groups, and those groups are conflicting because, you know, the MAD or the Islamic, they want to kill all oh God, anyone who's gay, like homosexuals. They want to kill all homosexuals. They want to throw them off roofs. But what they do is go ahead and look at the Sharia patrols. They run homosexuals off the street. They say, we don't want homosexuals in our streets. And they're doing it in Sweden, and they're doing it in the UK, and they're doing it in every Europe, in Brussels. And the police are not stopping them because they're too scared of being PC. And that's where PC leads. And I know that, like, there is the liberal idea. Liberals are not leftists. Like, be really aware, leftist is an agenda that you guys didn't make up. Like, you guys didn't make up. Like, my very first rally was a Democratic rally because I thought, like, I didn't agree with everything. I didn't have all my feet there. But, like, I agreed with some of the things, and, like, that was my very first political rally, was a Democratic rally, right? But it's been hijacked. It's been hijacked by money. And what America is so great about is the fact that we have free speech. And here's what I know, is that liberals love free speech. The liberal friends I have love free speech. They love our ability to talk and converse, and they understand the value of that. So when I go, like, my husband and I used to do cruises when I was healthier. I think we've only done 2, but we did 2 cruises, and we loved it because we're like, this is where everyone's escaping to have intelligent conversation. This is like where the real stuff's going down. And you go on a cruise and you sit down at a table. And what is great about cruises, like, only in America can this happen, only in Western culture can this happen, is you can go onto a cruise, be sat down with who knows where, from God knows where, with who knows what beliefs, who knows what values, and you sit down, and I gotta be honest, at every cruise, I have no idea what political party they were with. What I do know is that I have heard everything from the left to the right. I mean, I have heard it all. I have heard racist things, and I have heard Marxist things. I have heard it all. But we were all able to sit there and have a civil discourse. I mean, that is what we go on cruises for. Ultimately, the highlight of a cruise is the conversation we have at the end of every single night. The highlight of every night. We go out, we do our adventures, and then we come back at night and we talk together. And the leftists don't. You can see it in every interview. They ask a question, but it's not really a question. It's actually lecturing, propaganda. It's actually a declaration. It's usually accusations. And then they literally give a half second for the person to respond, and then they shut them down. And what they're doing is not saying, hey, world, we want to have a discourse here. What they're saying is, hey, world, this is how you should treat people. And and this is why I think you're following me, is because you know that that's bullying. And that's what the liberals I know hate. That's what Hollywood says they want to hate. That's what they want to fight against, is bullying. Ultimately, bullying is like the biggest thing. But the way to fight bullying is to say we're all equals and hear each other out and say each other's opinion is equal. Your opinion is equal to my opinion. So, and what's interesting is that as I've started to watch the other videos, the other side, I have seen that the liberals who used to work for news media, who didn't follow the script as the script got narrower and narrower and narrower, and trust me, it will get more and more narrow. Like, it's for 30 years, it's just got narrower, narrower, narrow, which was the plan, more and more and more and more narrow, right? And just to get us to, like, robots are humans, like, just to get us there, because we would never have said that before. And it's just going to be peachy, and we need to fight that. But the first thing we need to do is actually come together and talk again. You've got to learn how to talk with everybody else again. And the fact of the matter is that everybody is willing and waiting to listen. Like, everybody is willing to talk. Like, that's what's been really interesting to see people leave the media, and they leave this like really, really narrow culture. And then they're invited to talk at like conservative places. And then they go and they find themselves, actually, every single one has said it. They said, I was able to talk more freely at a conservative event than I ever was able to at a well, I would say leftist event. And so the other thing that I've noticed from looking at the conservative side is that I'm not seeing a whole ton of conservative, what I know to be conservative values. I'm seeing some. What I'm mostly seeing is just like where the left, like everybody else in America, like it's just kind of where everybody else who's brave enough to speak has gone. Like everyone who's brave enough to say this isn't okay has just gone, and they've all been labeled conservative or white supremacist or, hate speech, which, by the way, let me be very clear, hate speech isn't something in the Constitution. That is something completely made up by the leftists. It is you have to let go of hate speech. You have got to let go of the term hate speech. The moment you institute two things, PC or hate speech, that is something that I've learned. Something that I've learned is that if we sit at that table, and when you sit down at the cruise table, we've never sat there and said, oh, that was hate speech or that's PC. Both of those things police other people, and both of those things are what communist countries did. That's where these techniques came from, were communist countries. And they were smart. They moved it in so very, very slowly that we didn't even catch it. And they did it by empowering groups that, were just coming up. And what they did is they empowered groups that, the Christians didn't necessarily agree with or embrace. But I find it very interesting that I think you guys feel it. I think you guys feel the fact, like, I know my gay friends were like, I don't understand why we're going after churches, why we're making churches marry us. I don't want to be married in a church. I don't want to make them do it. And I was like, but that's the point. Like, we have a system now of like making others take on our beliefs. And we really have to start remembering boundaries again. We have to start remembering that we are all equal. And I have to say, for the left does an amazing job of two things. The leftists, which is not my liberal friends, don't do any of these things. The left does two incredible things, which I know you liberals are just freaking out because you're like, this isn't us. And what I'm saying is that I think it's going to be really important for you to go ahead and peek on over at these conservative sites, because I think you'll be shocked at what you're seeing. I think you really will be, because I was shocked at how much A, research is out there, but B, this is why I'm saying I think you should go over there, because I think all the things that you value, all the freedoms you value, all the things you ever fought for, I think they're all falling apart, and they are hiding it from you. They're hiding it from you on purpose to just keep your vote or just keep your money pouring in and just keep your support. They don't want you to know that Islam wants homosexuals dead. They don't want you to know that Sharia patrols are being planned for America. They don't want you to know that Linda Soares, all of her relatives are in jail for terrorism. They don't want you to know any of that. They don't want you to know research and facts. And that's a big thing that I've noticed, is that the left doesn't use research and facts. What they do is the leftists lie a lot. And liberals, I know, don't go for lying. Like, they don't go for lying. And I know power is intoxicating. I know being right is intoxicating. But how about, growing from exchange of ideas? Like, I think that talking is more intoxicating than being right. I think, do you remember when we were in college and we would sit down and we'd be at a lunch table, and we could seriously talk with each other, and everybody would have different views, and we'd be like, well, I think this, and da 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 da. Do you remember how edifying that was? Now imagine 6 of those people going to jail for saying what they said in that circle. Is that what you want? Because right now, you've been trained to celebrate that. But you're on the target next. Like, I'm telling you, you're on the chopping block next. but they don't want you to know that. And if you go over and you see these other things, you'll find the research that's showing you that. And I just, if nothing else, like liberal values say to talk to one another, liberal values say free speech. And if you really believe in free speech, then you should be able to freely hear the other side. And the left doesn't want you ever listening to the other side. They think, and why is that? Like, why would anyone say don't listen? Like, why would anyone say that? I mean, can you sit through a pastor in church? If you can sit through a pastor in church that you don't agree with, why can't you sit through somebody else answering a Q&A section that you don't agree with? It is really terrifying. I think, like, this is a great example of the left. This is a great example, and it's a red button issue. It's a super push button issue, but this is exactly what I mean. Like 4 years, how many years? 10, 15 years? Did NBC absolutely promote Donald Trump, have a show with him, and promote him and have him and all the philanthropy did and all the businesses? And Harvard had business classes based on The Apprentice. And celebrities went out of every race, shape, size, nationality, and he treated them all exactly the same. And the moment he ran for office, he became a white supremacist. I mean, and the thing is I think that liberals were just, well, none of my liberal friends went for it. I mean, none of my liberal friends went for it anyway. They were just like, well, I don't want to be president, but they didn't necessarily approve of the tactic. They're kind of like, that's extreme, because they didn't like how it divided the country. They much preferred a real debate. Like, I know when the emails came out, which we now know are like not fake at all, because her side actually admitted it all, which I put that evidence out. Like, she's just paying each of the news anchors $25,000. Like, she came out and gave them the talking points. Like, they had a dinner before she launched her campaign. She had a massive fundraiser and paid each of them $25,000 and gave them their talking points for the year for the campaign. And that's why there's videotape of them saying, well, we can't help her out any more than we have. And I know that liberals are not happy with that. Like, they're kind of like, that doesn't feel good. Like, there's something wrong. And what's wrong is that you guys have been hijacked. Like, your party doesn't really belong to you anymore. And that's a good instinct. And I think that the Republican Party doesn't belong to itself either. Like, it used to have these core values and everything like that. And a liberal said it really well. I can't remember his name, but boy, he's the one that outed the Me Too movement and the misogyny that we've all seen, right? And he said something, he's like, well, we found out in this election, they don't really care about this issue, and they don't really care about this issue. They don't really care about this issue. They care about this issue. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I can see that, like, you apparently conservatives, which I feel like I've been watching so many conservative videos at this point. I feel like I know my video, well, I've been censored. So, like, in my head, I'm like, great, I'm conservative just because I research. I'm a freaking independent. But they label absolutely. Do you know that they've banned liberals from Twitter? So in my mind, like, just the entire nation, anyone who believes in we the people or equality for all, like just equal rights for all, anyone who believes in that and doesn't believe like one person's religion should infringe upon another, and also believes that, you know, if you come into this country, there should be an actual process. You should actually agree to obey our laws. Because Sharia law, like Islam, says that we should not obey the U.S. laws. Like they say they should be able to murder their wives with no consequence whatsoever. They should be able to murder their daughters if they dishonor them. Honor killings should be allowed. They should obey honor killings. And like there should be an agreement if you immigrate here, like there should be an agreement that you will actually obey our laws. Like that, like there are some things that liberals are some of the smartest people I know. Like they're smart. I think like I've said before, Americans are smart. Americans are really, really smart. And I think, I know you feel like you have nowhere to go, no one to talk to, because this leftist side is just like nailing you and hammering you and censoring your speech and saying you can't say this or you can't say that and you can't raise a red flag here. And what I'm saying is that this conservative side that they're labeling, it really is just a much larger, and they're all kind of gathering, and just the leftists are labeling it conservative, but it's not. It really is this huge pool of just everyone, because it's kind of like as the leftist just drives, it's like all of America goes, and they just get grouped into this one name. But you can actually have really good conversations. That's the one thing that I've noticed, is that when I watch the conservative videos, they're easier to watch because I don't feel like I'm being preached to in any of them. In any of them. I don't feel like I'm being preached to in a single one. I feel like I'm allowed to have my own opinions. And I'm just not used to that with leftist things. And I would like to see some liberals like that. And I don't think they want us to see it. Like, I don't think they want us to see it. It's why they're shutting down. Like, Bill Maher, he has some things, but then he really does the same thing. He does he does a lot of the script, because he does a lot of the script. And I know you guys don't agree with that. You want open speech, not just labeling people and not just bullying, not having like 5 people on the panel and then one out conservative. That's not the way our country's made. Our country isn't made that way. Why isn't the way our country is actually spread out? Why isn't anyone that's moderate? Why isn't any sensible moderate ever on a panel? Have you ever noticed that? Why aren't we represented? Why aren't we independents ever represented? And why aren't people who just have plain facts and research? Wow, we're the ones that are yelled at the most out there. So anyway, I just want to tell you liberals that there's actually places for you to go. You would be absolutely shocked at how many liberals are actually going to these conservative things and actually finding a place. But you are not actually the script. I think more and more people are realizing that this script over here is leftist, it's totalitarian, and liberals are not actually that way. Moderate liberals, because liberals are being kicked off Twitter because they're not talking the leftist tone. And you actually have a lot of power. You can withdraw. You cannot support a party that's doing that right now, because if you support the party that's been hijacked by this Soros money and by the Middle Eastern money that is fully funding, oh my gosh, look into Huma Abedin. Look into Huma Abedin and just research. And I know that's right. They've made it such a red. They make things, whenever something's a hot button topic, it means they don't want you to look. What's wrong with looking? All I'm saying is go look. Just go look. Because when there's a lot of funding there, the H&K, the Hill and Knowlton campaign against women alone should terrify feminists. It should absolutely terrify feminists. All this thing that they're telling you, we fight for feminism, but you're disappearing from movies anyway? Haven't you noticed that? Have women really come that far? They're just using your vote, you guys. They're just using your vote. They say they care about gun rights, but then they don't support it. They don't fund any of it. They go and get the gun laws, and then they don't fund any of it. They're just trying to destroy the Constitution, get the Second Amendment to fall down so that they don't have America anymore. There's no democratic society where everyone has a voice and everyone has a vote. And you guys know what that looks like. You liberals know exactly what's that like, because you grew up in a home where you grew up in a totalitarian home. And I want you to really go out there and see what life is like for people that don't have exactly your point of view. You really need to start seeing what it's like for people who have slightly different views than you. Very slightly different views. And you need to start finding out how many lies are being told about people who have very moderate views, very reasonable, educated, researched views. And they're lying about them to the entire nation. And they're paying for violence at rallies. They're paying for questioners at rallies. They pay so many. How scared are you to stand up and go? How scared are you to go and speak? And all of a sudden these things even the entire Occupy movement we found out was completely Soros funded. Have you ever seen the breakdown? Have you ever seen the breakdown of who was actually in the Occupy movement? Do you know how many of them made over $50,000 a year? It was all, well, I guess you guys are liberal. You know what was in the Occupy movement. You know who actually did that. And that was fully Soros. That was not a groundswell of poor people. No, it was older white males who were in the Democratic Party who just used the Soros, were paid by it, and they all had jobs, and they just went out and lived in tents for a while. fully paid by Soros to do so in answer to the Tea Party. That's not what you guys are. You guys aren't just like, you aren't shills. That's my point. I don't know any liberals that are shills. My liberal friends are all very, very free thinkers. That's probably why those are all my friends. I don't know. But you guys are also fighters. You fought when you were younger. Fight now. And you know you can't support this. You know you can't support this. You know you can't. And you also know you can't believe what... I'm just say, I'm just like, what would Martin Luther King think of this now? He said he wanted to see black children and white children together. I've said that before. Are you willing to join together? Do you think he wanted us split up? That is exactly what they want, is us divided. That's exactly what they want, is us divided. They want to split up. Our history tells us that America, divided, we fall. Do you think they didn't learn that? Divided, we fall. So, liberals, I'm asking you to be brave and know that you're not alone, because I certainly don't hate you. I don't know a single conservative that doesn't talk to a liberal that just talks to them politely and doesn't yell at them. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it anywhere. Just, you're not alone. And you're not a leftist. I know you're not a leftist, and people are learning that there's a difference. And talk about that. Say, I'm a liberal. I'm not a leftist. Tell people that. Leftist is different. I'm a liberal, and I'm not a leftist. And tell leftists that I'm not going to be your leftist agenda, and I'm not going to donate money to this anymore. And when you donate your money, if you donate your money, make them sign something and say, this will not go towards anything towards, like, tell me, like, this is not going to anything funded by Soros. Tell me Sharia law. You will denounce Sharia law. Like, make sure all of that's done. But I don't think it's safe to do anything. The DNC is so, like, it goes so deep. It goes back like 30 years. It's so bad, you guys. It's so bad. And I think that you need to leave the party in order to retake it again. You need to go gather. You need to gather. I think we, the people, need to gather under, like, a new flag. Like, we just need to gather, like, under some united flag of just we, the people, and take our country back. And remember our similarities instead of our differences. All right, I'm out of time. I love you guys so much. Have a good one. Peace out.